Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. High alert in Tinderbox, Kent. Firefighters remain at the scene of huge heatwave fires at Dartford that threaten to engulf homes.
It's a very difficult task because you are battling against maybe flames that have got a 10-foot height.
Extra passport booths for Dover ahead of the summer holidays. Will it be enough to cope with queues and soaring passenger numbers?
Also tonight, the pick of the crop on this family farm on the High Weald, where they're making sure that cherries that don't make the grade don't go to waste.
And join me and my friends here in Brighton as England and the Women's Euros reach the quarter-final stage.
Good evening. Dozens of firefighters remain at the scene of yesterday's huge heatwave fires that broke out along the A2 at Dartford and on nearby Heathland, threatening to spread to homes.
At first light today, the scale of the damage became clear. And tonight there are concerns about renewed flare-ups. Well, Joe Caution is at Dartford for us. Joe, the damage can be seen for miles.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Sangeeta. It's like I'm standing in the middle of a set of a disaster movie, doesn't it? If you just take a look behind me, you can see a couple of firefighters working away on some of the damp spots, but the ground is completely burnt to a crisp as far as the eye can see. And I just want to take you over here now to take a look at some of the debris left from the fire, which covered 4 square miles when it broke out yesterday. Some of the burnt out wheels, tyres completely obliterated, and the buildings just over that fence there completely destroyed. Now, it's maybe somewhat unsurprising that we're seeing these charred remains, given some of the scenes, incredibly, what we saw yesterday. This is some of the pictures from the A2, or the side of it, yesterday. Traffic moving along while a fire was breaking out alongside it, as crews battled to try and put both this fire and the one on the A2 out in record temperatures, which Kent Fire and Rescue's incident commander told me was an extra challenge.
As with any wildfire, it's a very difficult task because you are battling against maybe flames that have got a 10-foot height. The extreme heat didn't help us. We had to be really mindful of our crews. And at its height, there were 18 fire engines, which is about 90 firefighters.
And Joe, the fire is out, but crews still there working very hard.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And the work today is just as important because there is a real risk of a fire restarting, which is exactly what we have seen in Sheerness today. An incident that was dealt with by firefighters at the weekend has reignited because of a deep-seated pocket of fire. You can see some of the ground smouldering away here in Dartford, which is why crews have been working through the night and still here this evening, trying to dampen down any remaining hot spots, black spots, to make sure that that fire doesn't restart. One eyewitness has told me that the fire service has done a fantastic job over the last 24 hours or so because they stopped the fire from spreading to a nearby housing development. He told me the whole ordeal has been terrifying.
It was very chaotic scene and it was very scary scene as well because we live in this development and we love this place. So it was very much a sad story when the flames was very high, and also it is very much a natural place. It's a very beautiful place. Trees, birds and the bushes here. It is very sad to see. I was devastated to see the wildfire here.
Well, I just want you to take a look at some of the pictures that we've seen today and some of the devastation that has been left by some of these fires. And while we've been here throughout the day as crews work hard in still pretty hot temperatures, firefighters have had a showering of support from the community, with thank you cards, chocolates, ice creams and flowers being delivered for working tirelessly in what can only be described as extreme conditions. And I think we can all agree they've earned it.
Joe, very, very lucky there. Thank you very much. South East Water says it doesn't know when supplies will return to normal in a group of villages near Ashford following unprecedented demand from customers. Residents in Chollock, Molash and Charing have had no water or low pressure for 5 days. The company has apologised and set up a bottled water station at Chollock Village Hall, which at one point ran out of supplies today.
We've had 5 days now with no water. For myself, not great. Obviously the hottest days of the year or ever recorded yesterday and the day before. It's been horrendous, absolutely horrendous. No showers, can't flush the toilet. I've used up all the water I had in my water butt to flush the toilets, but that's all gone now. So yeah, nightmare, absolutely awful.
Been very hot weather over the last week, but the last couple of days have been record breaking in terms of temperatures. And what that's done is it's done the same for us in terms of demand. So it really is a case that while we've got enough water in our raw water stores, in our reservoirs and aquifers, we physically can't get it through our system fast enough to maintain supplies. So we have underground treated water storage tanks. They've been getting depleted day on day for the last week or so. And really, when we've hit the very, very hot patch, we just haven't been able to keep up with the demand.
After major disruption on the railways due to the heat this week, passengers are being warned of more to come next week due to further rail strikes. Next Wednesday, the 27th of July, only 1 in 5 trains are likely to be running due to a walkout by the RMT union. In some parts of the region, there will be no trains at all. Then 3 days later, on Saturday the 30th, a strike by the ASLEF Drivers Union will see more disruption across 8 train companies, including South Eastern. Timetables will be issued this weekend. Passengers are being told to plan ahead. The Port of Dover is expanding border capacity to avoid queues as traveller numbers rise to pre-pandemic levels, boosted by fears about flight cancellations and the start of the school summer holidays. A deal's been struck with the French Border Force to man an extra newly built passport booth, up from the current 7.
But a much bigger challenge lies ahead. The potential for major delays from next spring when new EU rules come into force, requiring passengers to undergo biometric checks. Sarah Saunders has been taking a look at how the new system will work.
As tourist travel ramps up for the summer, already there have been reports of delays down here at Frontier Control. At the weekend, there were waits of up to 4 hours at French passport control as travellers had enhanced checks to reach the EU. So the Port of Dover has made an investment in these extra booths for extra French border control staff. So what difference does the Chief Executive of the Port of Dover think that could make to the travelling public? Doug, there's been a lot to deal with recently, pandemic, P&O, but it does now take longer to travel through here. Why?
Well, absolutely. Since the UK left the European Union, of course, for travelling into the European Union, we're subject to full passport checks. Before, our freight traffic would go through in about 0 seconds. Now it's 60 seconds to maybe up to 90 seconds per truck. All of that adds up.
Now, you've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes with the various governments involved. You've created 50% more booths, as I understand it, but you're not in charge of whether or not they're manned.
What we have done as Port of Dover is installed new infrastructure and put in new operational processes to make certain that the traffic can flow through as best as it can with the new control regimes that are in place. Now, we are reliant on other players to do their part to staff the booths.
Are you confident that's going to happen?
Well, we don't know. We've had lots of good dialogue, and we work very well with Police Aux Frontières, the French immigration police, and they certainly have high attention on our operation down here. But ultimately, it comes down to their resourcing levels, and we know resourcing around Europe and around the world is indeed tight these days.
These checks are being done now. It's taking a bit longer, but this isn't everything. Biometric testing is on the way, where people might have to get out of their vehicles. It's been kicked further and further back, but it's still coming. Will we be ready for that? It could have a huge impact on Kent. Well,
you're right. So the European entry-exit system, the ES, the set of biometrics, the way that it's currently thought through is that it will work well in an airport, but as of right now, there is no technology, no process, nothing designed for vehicular traffic going through a busy ferry terminal. This is something that is concerning us, because if we don't get that right, everything will stop.
And of course, what happens here at the Port of Dover affects everyone. These booths should be in place for the start of the summer holiday getaway, and how effective they are could be crucial, because viewers will know how quickly problems here at the Port of Dover can affect people travelling around the rest of Kent.
Sarah Saunders there. And a government spokesperson has told us, we understand the concerns of the sector and we are working with port authorities, operators and the French government to ensure there is minimal disruption, particularly where checks are conducted by French officers prior to departure, as is the case at Dover.
The number of migrants to cross the Channel in small boats has surpassed 15,000 for this year so far. Large numbers of people, including a newborn baby, braved this week's heatwave to make the dangerous journey. They were brought ashore in Dover on Monday.
Gatwick Airport says it's hired 400 new security staff to help ease queues. Bosses said more staff are being recruited in a move aimed at reducing pressure on the airport as it goes into the busy school summer holiday period. The announcement comes amid an air travel crisis, which has seen thousands of flights cancelled and many passengers forced to wait for several hours in long queues at airports.
Now you're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up on the programme.
The Lionesses prepare to take on Spain in the Euro quarter-finals. We're in Brighton ahead of the match.
And the weather may be cooling down at last, but it's still very dry out there. We could be on course for one of the driest Julys on record.
More on all of our stories, of course, on the website. Here are the details. itv.com/Meridian is the address. The phone number 0808 1010 095. And you can follow us as ever on social media.
Now, with COVID cases rising across the country and some experts predicting significant levels of infection this autumn, businesses are being warned to prepare now.
Well, many workplaces are already regularly losing staff at short notice who've tested positive and are staying at home.
And that's putting pressure on colleagues who have to fill in the gaps in rosters and cover the extra work, as James Webster has been finding out.
Checking into this hotel, there are still signs that COVID remains a concern.
We've got 300 people in our team. We did some stats this morning and we looked, and around 70% of our team have had COVID over the last 3 years. There isn't a week gone by when we haven't had some individual being positive for COVID. I think the most important thing is people tell us and let us help them with that challenging time they're in.
And it's not just the hospitality industry that's feeling it. Recent research shows COVID remains one of the 3 most common causes of short-term staff absence. But it's not necessarily the biggest concern right now for companies, according to this employment consultant from Tunbridge Wells.
A lot of our employers that we're speaking to are finding it really challenging at the moment, trying to cope with COVID absences. And that's partly because they're already really struggling to recruit people. And so they've already got pressures on them because they're already feeling a strain. And then on top of that, they've got to cope with short-term absences, which are quite unpredictable at times.
The latest data has showed an increase in COVID cases across the country, and experts warn that could be a sign of worse to come.
I know there is a lot of fatigue about coronavirus and SARS-CoV-2 pandemic, but we need to keep that simple health messages keep going, which is be up to date with your vaccines, please take care in crowded places, and encourage good ventilation in indoor places.
Despite that, not all businesses are giving the same advice, according to a new survey given exclusively to ITV News. Only 35% of businesses would ask staff to take a test and stay at home if it's positive. Almost 3/4 of private businesses haven't updated policies on protecting staff from COVID. And 16% say they no longer have any COVID health and safety procedures in place, something that could put them at risk as cases increase.
Certainly CRPD's advice is that this is a long-term challenge to the health and well-being of their workforce, and they need to continue to take this extremely seriously, make sure they have clear guidance, make sure they update their policies so that particularly managers and individuals really understand what's required if they have symptoms.
Back at this hotel, they have put plans in place to deal quickly with unexpected absences.
I don't believe anybody wants to spend their day writing more COVID processes. But fundamentally, this is part of the new normal. So if you haven't got processes in place, if you haven't changed the way you're doing business, I think that's a little bit selfish because your team still need that guidance. Your customers still need to have that confidence that you're taking this seriously. And as a business manager, you've got to be able to sleep at night knowing you're doing the right thing.
Experts say all managers need to have such contingency plans in place. COVID, they say, will continue to have a long-term impact on their businesses. James Webster, ITV News.
Now, spare a thought for workers on fruit farms, because despite the sweltering heat, they've been busy picking their crop over recent weeks, and in Kent, that means lots of fresh cherries.
It's estimated that 9 in every 10 English cherries are grown in the county, which makes it the perfect place for a new research project to discover what health benefits they possess.
Well, scientists hope to use that knowledge to develop new food products from the imperfect cherries that normally go to waste, as Kit Bradshaw has been finding out.
Squeezing every last drop of goodness out of these luscious fruit has long been the ambition of this family-run farm, nestled in the picturesque High Weald, just a stone's throw from the Kent-Sussex border.
Planted originally by my late father when there wasn't really a cherry industry to speak of in this country.
The path to greater sustainability has led them to experiment with new uses for the waste food.
These cherries look very appetising, but some of them wouldn't be good enough to be sold, is that right?
Yeah, but basically exactly that. So when put across the grader, or even the pickers should reject them and put them into the second class bucket that they'll have by their feet. So ones like this where it's just split in the base of the cherry, that would get rejected, but you know, they don't get wasted anymore. They're the ones that we will make the cherry juice from. 10 years ago, when a variety that wasn't under a covering system split with summer rains, it's such a waste. All the goodness is still in there. We've spent a year growing them. So yeah, we made a small batch of cherry juice, sold out in literally a couple of months. We're like, okay, well, we're on to something here.
At this farm, they've invested more than £100,000 in these plastic canopies to reduce the risk that the English weather ruins an entire season's crop. It means that just 5% of cherries that they pick here are deemed not good enough to be sold on the shelves, and even those don't go to waste.
Their popular cherry juice could soon be joined by new superfood products, backed up by fresh scientific research.
Aren't they beautiful? Look at these. Look, and inside them, the thing that gives them their amazing colour is it's a compound that the cherries make called anthocyanins. This compound has been shown for decades, centuries even, to have really good health benefits for us, for humans. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to take these amazing cherries from this farm in Kent, and we're going to extract these anthocyanins, and we're going to actually measure the amount of goodness that is in these Kent cherries.
The £300,000 project extends from the packing shed in the village of Sandhurst to the University of Kent's laboratories in Canterbury.
So what we are interested in our lab is to find interventions that improve health, in particular as we age. So we are going to use simple laboratory models to test the benefits of these foods on age-related health and age-related diseases. One thing that this project will enable Michael to do is to develop new food products that don't exist.
A cherry powder created from the pulp from the juice-making process is the first potential new product.
There's no reason to waste anything, is there? You know, the skins have got so much nutrition in there as well, but you know, the skins off the back of the press where we're making the cherry juice are all left over. So if we can freeze dry them, get them into a powder, so yeah, down the line, I think there's massive benefits to this.
The scientists hope to report by the end of next year, meaning that distinctive, sharp, sweet flavour of a Kent cherry could soon taste even better, with the knowledge of just how good they are for our bodies and the planet. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News, Sandhurst.
We do not do enough testing on this programme.
No, that's what I'm having on my dinner break tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Marvellous.
Not just that, obviously.
Not just that, something else first. Before we get to our dinner break, let's get a check on what's coming up on the national and international news at 6:30. With the details tonight for us, here's Charlene White.
Consequences of yesterday's record-breaking temperatures. Families left with nothing as homes burned to the ground. We're down to the final two. Our next Prime Minister's either Rishi Sunak or Liz Truss. Inflation hits a new 40-year high as the cost of everyday goods continues to rise. And it's the Lionesses up against Spain in the Euros quarter-finals. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Thank you, Charlie, because that leads me nicely onto this. A former school pupil from Kent is playing in tonight's European Women's Championship at the Amex in Brighton. Yes, England striker Alessia Russo spent 7 years at St Simon Stock Catholic School in Maidstone, as Glenn Thompson reports.
This is where it all started for Alessia Russo at St Simon Stock Catholic School in Maidstone. The 23-year-old striker is part of the squad playing tonight at the Amex Stadium in Brighton as England take on Spain in the quarter-final of the Women's European Championship. Spain will be a tough challenge as they have a squad full of Champions League winners, but England are currently on a roll and have the home advantage on the south coast. Alessia was born in Maidstone and spent 7 years at the school honing her sporting skills.
From the very beginning, we marked her out and could see that she had huge talent. She played. She was an all-round athlete. She did cross-country as well as athletics. She represented the school girls' football. She also played for the boys' team as well.
For such a young player, Alessia's career record to date is impressive, having played for Chelsea, Brighton and Hove, as far away as North Carolina in the US, and currently as a forward for Manchester United in the Women's Super League. It's an envious position that many students would like to copy.
I think it's everyone's dream to follow in our footsteps, and especially for more girls to see that, it'd just be good for girls' football.
And are you proud to be at the same school that she went to?
Yeah, I am. I think it's a good role model for the school as well, and I think it means more.
Confidence is high for England, who are ranked 8th in the world, and Spain just above them at 7th position. As for tonight's final score, well, it's anyone's guess.
I think if we want it bad enough, I think we'll win. I reckon 2-0.
I think it might be 2-1 to England, hopefully, but I think they definitely need to put up a good fight to win.
For anyone wanting to follow in the footsteps of Alessia, it's all about hard work and determination.
She understands that actually her talent comes from deliberately working on the fine margins, practice, and that really is why she's such a great model for our students.
Glenn Thompson, ITV News, Maidstone.
Well, ahead of the big match, the party started early for England and Spain supporters who've been enjoying the build-up at a fan park in Brighton.
Yeah, the park's been running ahead of all 3 games that have been held at the Brighton and Hove Community Stadium, and today Andrew Pate joined in the fun and has just sent us this.
The fun and excitement is definitely building here. There's been bigger crowds at this tournament than any other women's football tournament in Europe before. There already were, with 15 games to go. One of the families that have come along have come from Colchester. So why are you here?
Well, the women's game has grown so much over the years. My daughter here plays for Colchester. So we're here to support her and her interests and come on England.
Thank you, Gary. Enjoy the game. Now, we also have fans that may not be supporting England. Who are you supporting tonight?
I think we're supporting Spain.
What do you think about this tournament?
Well, we are very excited to be part of it. Also, we are very happy the media is supporting women's sport. And also, I think
I think they're breaking records. Even if the venues and the stadiums were bigger, they would be even at full capacity because it's been also loud. Some of them were slightly small.
Thank you so very much indeed. Enjoy the game. Ricardo is the coordinator of the volunteers. Quickly, who are you supporting?
Well, it's tricky with me because I was born in Spain but live in England, so I'm in the middle, so I'm supporting both.
And what has the fan park been like throughout this tournament?
Oh, it's been amazing. The Norway fans have been amazing, as has the Austrians. It's been a really good atmosphere. Loads of free stuff to do, loads of families. What a great place. Come down.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. It certainly is a great day today. And just to finish us off, we have Martin Osborne from Brighton Hove Council. What has it been like hosting this tournament?
Yeah, we've been really thrilled to be one of the 9 host cities, and it's been fantastic for our general economy, for our visitor economy, for our hotels, for our guest houses, restaurants, pubs. It's been a great environment, and we hope the women can just win this evening.
Well, thank you, Martin. And there's almost guaranteed to be loads of goals tonight. There's been more goals in the opening group stages than ever before. England have already scored 8 against Norway here in Brighton. They'll be hoping for many more this evening.
Yes, Andrew Pate there. It could be a cracker. Well, it looked lovely in Brighton. Let's continue the weather theme. Pip joins us in the studio. So record-breaking temperatures yesterday, as we've been hearing about all day. Yeah. And we could be breaking more records as well this week.
That's right, yeah, the temperatures have certainly stolen the headlines so far this week, and rightly so, breaking records left, right and centre yesterday. But it's also been a very, very dry July so far. Now, we are only 2/3 through, we've still got a little way to go, but let's take a look at the numbers as they stand at the moment. So our driest July on record was way back in 1868, where the UK as a whole saw an average of 23.2 millimetres. July so far this year, we're currently up to 16.6 millimetres. Now, if we do a bit of maths averaging and extrapolate that out to the end of the month, we would be a little bit over the current record. But I want to draw your attention to the numbers here in the south and southeast. So far this July, just 1.5 millimetres on average. That's just 2% of the average we'd expect to see. So unless we get some really decent bouts of rain, it looks as though we could be breaking some records, at least locally.
So could we get some decent rain?
Well, we could do, yes, certainly looking more showery towards the end of the month, but as is the nature with showers, they're a bit hit and miss. Some places will still see a lot of dry weather, so still the potential to stay very dry.
And Pip, does that mean temperatures are going to stay high?
Well, it certainly will still be warm. We're still only halfway through meteorological summer. Still some signals for some very warm or hot conditions to come, but hopefully nothing with a 4 in the front of it.
Thank you very much, Pip. Well, let's get your full forecast now. Here's Philippa with all the details.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, thankfully, the exceptional heat of earlier in the week is now safely out of the way, but we do have some thunderstorms around to contend with. The Met Office have a yellow warning in force for the next few hours. Locally torrential downpours, the risk of some localised flooding and quite a bit of spray potentially on the roads if you do run into one of those. For the next few days, we keep that ongoing risk of a few showers from time to time. Plenty of sunshine in between though, and in the sunshine, whilst nowhere near as hot as it was on Monday and Tuesday, it will still be very warm. Out there at the moment then, we can pick up on a few of those showers. As I said, fairly few and far between, but if you catch one, you will know about it. However, through the next few hours, those will tend to fade out, and by the end of the night, for most of us, it's looking largely dry with some clear spells. Temperature-wise, still up in the mid-teens, but we will have a brisker northwesterly breeze, so if you can get the windows open, that should help to move the air through a bit and cool things down. Tomorrow morning then, quite a cloudy start for many of us, and we'll hold on to a fair bit of cloud as we head into the afternoon. Still some bright or sunny spells peeping through, but even in the best of the sunshine, temperatures a lot more manageable than they were earlier in the week, with highs tomorrow probably 23 or 24 Celsius quite widely. High tides for tomorrow then for Brighton there around 5:45 in the morning, around 6:15 in the evening. And then beyond that, Thursday into Friday, it could be that we'll see further showers developing across the near continent, and those may well move our way. If they do, again, they could be heavy and potentially thundery. We will, of course, keep you posted. So that ongoing risk of a few showers over the next few days, but for the weekend as a whole, it looks dry and bright and temperatures creeping up again on Sunday.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
If you are a hay fever sufferer, you may well notice your symptoms improving. Currently, grass pollen is easing, weed pollen still about, and levels generally low to moderate at worst.
And that is it from us for this evening. The ITV national and international news, of course, follows us very shortly with the details this evening. Charlene White, of course.
And remember, I will have your late update. That's just after 10:30. You might be sleeping tonight because obviously we haven't been able to recently, but do join me if you can. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.